Someone asked me to talk about the dimension that I exist in, so I'm going to do my best to explain it. So before I awakened, meaning I remembered I actually already exist in a higher dimension, I could perceive through people's realities, right? Like when I would work with businesses or people or go put myself in these situations, like in hospitals and things like that, I always just knew something was wrong. The more awareness I was able to hold, the more I could just see other timelines. Like, for example, if I was working with business owners and they were running their business one way, my intuition would show me the gaps, and it wouldn't just be with the business, it would be with like the software, how the software set up. Like I just immediately knew things because I was tapping into that timeline that was running. But then I also would be able to see simultaneous timelines running that they could be choosing. So when I would recruit, I would try to find people that would help them elevate their timeline, whether they were aware of it or not. And as I became more aware, I knew I was consciously doing this. And so prior to awakening, my journey was remembering and recognizing that I exist in a different dimensional field than most people. I had assumed, and this was not the best for me, I had assumed other people could see what I saw for a very long time until I realized that was not the case, because this led me into investigating all sorts of spiritual practices, ayahuasca, LSD, shrooms, smoking weed. I mean, anything and everything, you name it, I experienced it. I did the traveling, I did the thrill seeking, all of it. And I always felt really unfulfilled, and I felt like something was off. And it wasn't until I took accountability and realized that I've already overcome this world and really accepted that I was able to reverse the polarity that was attached to my field and override it with love. So now, once I did that, I essentially moved into a dimensional state where I was shown this world and how negative it really is. So like my plants were like fake for a bit. The simulation was very obvious in terms of how it runs. And I was stuck in that for a little bit until I like took it in and really accepted it. I had a cat at the time I awakened, and I had to accept that we are literally killing animals with the food that we are feeding them. And so I had to get rid of my animals because I basically realized that my energy was feeding these distorted views that were impacting consciousness as a whole, and that all of the people that exist in this world were my responsibility, as well as me aligning with truth to help others, and that I'm powerful enough and strong enough to hold it. That like this distortion can't touch me unless I allow it. And so what happened after I awakened is I essentially spoke to different entities of different dimensions and started to realize the frequency of the entities that are helping guide me. And when I say entities, I mean there are different forms of intelligence and beings that are simultaneously playing this game that essentially take over people's avatars that appear as humans, but they're not really humans. So the game is set up to where you think you're playing with people that are just like you. So everyone appears human, but once you awaken, you realize that that's the biggest lie, and that there are people playing from different dimensions, different forms and beings, and you're all taking on avatar human characters, but you're not actually those people. This is why people have like body dysmorphia and stuff, because you're not really your body, but you did choose to play this avatar in this game, and so you have to learn to love it and appreciate it. Now, when I go outside or just exist in general reality, I see people's bodies now. So before, I was kind of like in this different phase where I was in this spirit world and I was feeling things, but I wasn't seeing it. Now when I go out, I see the distortion very, very clearly. All of the restaurants everywhere, all of the fakeness, all of the fake products, the processed products, the fake community that's being built on lies and falsities that are literally killing the spiritual vessel and just polluting the mind and the body. When I go to the grocery store, I can feel the energy of the fruit and the vegetables and the meats and the processed food. I can feel the energy of all of it. And I can not only feel it, I can see it. And when I'm going through this, I also am very in tune with understanding that there are different entities constantly around us that we don't visually see. Like, I don't see them because they try to show me themselves a lot, and it was just like too much. I was like, I don't need to see it, but I can hear them and I can feel them. And you're basically go through this integration phase where you get comfortable with your senses. Now, a lot of people have the gift of being able to perceive the spirit world. In fact, this is what most of you, when you seek drugs or alcohol or whatever, are diluting, or is your spiritual sense, your ability to tap into your spiritual state. And so you have to recognize that you've never separated from that spiritual state. Part of the illusion is just believing that you have. And so when you re-tap into the fact that you are a spiritual being playing this game, then you're going to start playing more in alignment with your realm. And this is why, like, as you let people go who are part of a distorted aspect of yourself, you start to create space for God to bring the people into your life that can hold spirits that mirror your higher dimensional state. Because people are not actually all like conscious beings. They are avatars playing out different dimensional spiritual states that are mirroring back different parts of yourself for you to recognize what is still attached to your field that is not really who you are. And it's really just a shedding of getting you back to that original state. So like for me, the biggest thing is I was having to accept that I'm existing in this dimensional world, seeing all of the opposition, seeing people that I love and care about, because there's people I've met that I feel a deep, profound soul connection with, who are existing in the same dimension as me, but they have not remembered it yet. And so there's a part of me that wants to save them, but I understand that they have to go through that remembrance on their own, and that I'm just there to catalyze them by embodying my state. And so part of it is learning that, like, to learn to hold the field of a high frequency of love and not hurt myself when I'm seeing people that I love that are not there yet. And there's this innate feeling inside of me at first that's like, I want community. And so is it worth me lowering myself to feel that community? But the higher state is no, it's not, because by doing that, I trap them and I trap myself, and I know better. And this is something that I go back and forth on, right? And I've gone back and forth on it on different levels of awareness, because it's very deeply ingrained in the nervous system of the collective. But I had this thing happen to me today where I woke up and like the thoughts came into my field to act out specific things, but I realized that my nervous system wasn't actually freaking out. It was just my mind replaying memory loops, and that my nervous system was actually very settled. And so what I'm doing now is getting my ego, my character, to say that we like our baseline state, like this baseline state that I'm existing in of a very high frequency, which to me, it doesn't feel high. To me, I just feel normal because I sit in my frequency all day. But by diminishing that, I've worked hard to get back to this state, is also diminishing the impact I have on others, which is something I'm working on as well, is really recognizing my power and recognizing that when I walk into a room, I need to own that power, right? I need to own the frequency that I'm emitting, because in my past, I used to kind of play small sometimes or want to be invisible just to like process in my own way. But that's also a lie, right? You're never invisible. You're always going to be seen. And we all need to start to embody the fact that we are being seen, and we're essentially vessels showing what our perception of God is. I mean, that is what our bodies are showing when we go outside. So when someone's saying one thing, but their body's showing another, then there is where, and they're not conscious of what's going on. That immediately shows you a big gap in their conscious awareness of how they're treating themselves and where the integration still needs to happen.